What's up, everybody? Welcome to BioS3 Raw TV. Well, tonight we got something a little bit different. I should say today, because it's during the day. So recently, where do we even begin? So let's start at the beginning. That's a good place to begin, right? So for quite a while now, the vegan movement, the plant-based movement, of course, has been on the rise. And one of the big claims is, and vegans are talking about this, like this content is out there. And I didn't really have anything to challenge it because I was like, I don't really care enough. But one of the big things that vegans talk about as far as like muscle building and protein is that they can eat less protein on a vegan diet and still maintain their muscle mass or build mass. And I mean, there's tons of people doing it, like, and they're actually out there filming themselves doing it, and they're recording it, and they're documenting it, and it's, I don't want to say well-known fact, but it's one of those things where it's kind of like, okay, yeah, I guess for some reason we don't really know why, but you can eat less protein on a vegan diet and still grow, whatever. So yesterday I see this. I was actually tagged by the Gorilla Chemist, and he actually posted a scientific study. Now, vegans usually like to hide behind the scientific studies. Well, a study says that if you switch to plant-based, you get healthier. A study says that your cholesterol gets better. A study says that your blood pressure gets better. They hide behind all these studies, right? So they're very quick to point out this is a study that says vegan is being the best thing ever in the world. Like they live by the science because that's what they throw in people's faces that shuts people up. Well, the Gorilla Chemist puts up, I guess, the first ever study, actual scientific study, peer-reviewed, published study, comparing animal protein to plant protein. And the findings were absolutely shocking because this blows a lot of things out of the water that I mean, it actually confirms a lot of things that I've been saying, but blows a lot of things out of the water that other people think. So they confirmed that if you took 20 grams of whey protein and 20 grams of plant-based protein, you would only technically digest and utilize 10 grams out of that plant-based protein. So you need to take in twice as much plant-based protein as you do animal protein to have the same effect. And they did all this different blood work and metabolic tests and stuff, and they concluded this is a fact. You need twice as much vegan protein or plant-based protein as animal protein. Now think about this. Let's say you are a bodybuilder who takes in 200 grams of protein on your animal-based diet. You switch to plant-based, you now have to take in 400 grams of protein to get the same effect. I don't know if you've ever looked or tried to get 400 grams of protein from a vegetable source or a vegan source or a plant-based source, but to be able to hit that number and keep your carbs and fats in check is very difficult, if not almost impossible to do without protein powders. So you're going to have to really supplement your diet. Now, I found that really interesting because now what's happening is there's going to be arguments. There's arguments saying, well, that's not true, that's bullshit, that study's not valid. Like, wait a minute. So all you vegans are swearing by studies over here. A study actually comes out that's peer-reviewed and says that vegan protein technically is not as good as animal protein, but that one's wrong, right? So now there's the argument starting. And I stepped back and I said, here we have something that combines bro and science together. And it all has to do with veganism and plant-based. So what's happening is these vegans, these plant-based people that are seeing the progress in the gym with less protein than what they would normally take in on a regular animal-based diet, they're seeing results. It's happening. That phenomenon is happening. We're watching it in front of our very eyes. But this piece of paper the Gorilla Chemist has now, this study, says that that's not possible. But we're seeing it. So the vegans who are normally science-based are living by a bro code right now because there was no science backing up that you could take in less vegan protein, but then the study comes out and says that you need twice as much vegan protein. And they're going to argue it. How the fuck can you be all about the science and throw science in everybody's faces all the time as a vegan, and then science comes out that says you're fucking wrong, and then you fight back and say, no, we're right. You have nothing backing up what you're fucking saying except for your results in the gym, which makes you a fucking bro. And I was like, you've got to be shitting me. Like, now, you know, like, are all vegans bro? Are all plant-based bro because science came out and said that it's not true? You need more protein? You need more more plant-based protein than animal protein? Like, that makes you a bro. And I think what really, hammered it home was, and I was talking to an individual yesterday about it, I said, you realize that those studies right here, the ones that are published, right, are done by bros. You realize that scientists are like the original bros, or they're technically, scientists are the evolved bros, okay? The original bros are out there like what the vegans are doing right now. And they're seeing results doing something that science says isn't impossible. It's absolutely not possible, right? We have this data and that says this is fact, right? So now what's happening is this stuff is happening over here. So someone eventually somewhere is going to start experimenting and start really studying the people that are getting the phenomena that shouldn't be happening, to where science then has an explanation for what's happening to them and the other explanation for the animal versus plant-based protein. There's going to be both sides of the fucking story happening. But in order to get the new science that's going to tell why these people are able to eat less protein plant-wise, you have to follow what people are saying and not the science. The science doesn't exist yet. So now what happens is these people have to do what they're doing, be studied, go through all this data and stuff until they figure it out. So you're creating science through bro. The first scientist, like whatever you have in a science book, came from a bro. The whole science book to begin with, and I'm using book meaning all science in general, came from experimentation and theories, aka bro science. Bro science existed before science existed. Science becomes fact after bro science has been tested and found to be true. But bro science existed first. So you have the bros, which are like you have the evolved science people, which are evolved, and then I don't want to call them the non-evolved because like it sounds so derogatory, but that's what it is. The non-evolved bros are non-evolved, and science people are evolved. Now, why is one or the other? It's not better to be one or the other, because without the bros who are evolved, science couldn't even exist. You have to be able to fucking come up with the concepts and theories and then experiment based on things that you think might work. Based on theories, based on something like, I wonder if this works. You try it, and then what happens is it works. There's no science backing it up. Like you're a bro. No science backing it up. And scientists go, let me look into this because this is really interesting. I think this is interesting. Oh, here's the science that explains what's been going on. Boom, now it's scientific. It's no longer bro, and it's in the scientific community, and it's published, and now it's fact. But before it became fact, it was bro. That's what I'm trying to explain this whole time, is that bros and science people need to be working together because they both have their place. Science is going to only study what science really wants to know. Okay, they're not going to study other things. Like they're very big into, disease, as far as like, muscular wasting diseases and stuff like that. They're very into, finding different ways to just help people in general, but not really build muscle, because science doesn't really give a shit. They have the common basic knowledge, and they say that's all we really need. But how much other information has been lost because they only took what they really wanted, which was a little bit of knowledge about building muscle. And these bros, which are these unevolved individuals, don't follow any of these papers, and they keep experimenting, and they keep pushing, and they keep breaking new ground that eventually winds up in those papers in the end. But to begin with, they started with a theory. They started with an idea. And I'm like, man, this whole bro and science really is more entangled than I thought. I mean, when you really break it down to the things that I'm saying right now, you're one and the same. One cannot exist without the other. It's like light and dark, high and low, good and bad. You can't exist without the other. Science cannot exist without bro, and bro can't exist without science. They kind of go hand in hand. Like without science, you aren't a bro. You're just somebody working out, right? Without a bro, you're not science. You're just somebody who has basic knowledge, because you don't have new things being developed by people that are bro that are saying, I don't care about what science says. I'm going to go with this theory and see what happens. And if this works, we now have new science. So they kind of like work hand in hand, and they're like antagonist type relationship. Doesn't mean that one's better than the other or one's smarter than the other. Like, the science individuals have that very, very tight book smarts, and they know about every chemical. Listen, you could be a bro and not understand any of the fucking chemical reactions or any of the names and pronounce everything wrong. If you understand the concept that when I do this, this result happens, and I did it again and it happened again, and I did it again and it happened again, you don't have to know any of the information the scientist knows to replicate those results and know what you're doing without knowing the fucking phrases or the mechanisms behind it. Whereas science really likes to know the mechanisms behind everything, but there's certain things happening that they don't know the mechanisms behind. Therefore, they think, well, it can't be possible. Well, here's something interesting. Like, science is incomplete. Physics are incomplete. These things are all incomplete because we're adding to those different areas every day. If we were complete and we had all the knowledge, we would literally be able to get up in the morning, drive up to wherever the fuck it was, get on a fucking rocket ship, and go to the moon for our fucking day because we work on the moon. We haven't figured out how to do that shit. We haven't figured out how to time travel. We haven't figured out a lot of shit. We don't even know how the fucking body works. We have neuroscientists, which a girl that I used to train was working at NIH. She was a neuroscientist at the National Institute of Health here in Bethesda. And she straight up told me we know like 2% of what the brain actually does. And this is one of the top places in the entire country, right, that studies brains and nervous systems. And they still only know about 2%. So to think that the science people based on bodybuilding have all the information, we don't even know how the fucking brain works. We don't know how fucking physics in general. We know very, very little amount about physics. We know very little about biology. We know, like, we think we know a lot, right? But if we really knew a lot, how the fuck would we be coming up with new things every day? How we come, it's so fucking vast. The knowledge is so fucking vast. There's so much to know that I honestly think many of these science people are so egotistical that they think they know it all. Oh, science has everything and we're learning new stuff by science. No, you look at a drop in the fucking bucket. The best part is the bros don't even know that they fucking do or don't know anything. They just go about their day trying to do what they want to accomplish, and then it filters over into the science later on. But the bottom line is, realistically, we know about 2% about what the fuck we're doing out there. So it takes experimentation and theories and learning to even get it to the point where you could study it effectively. And I sat back and I was like, I don't know if anybody else, I mean, you know, my brain works a little bit different than everybody else's. And I try to put myself in each other's shoes to understand a bro, a science person. You know, I try to look at it from all angles and see, you know, everybody's perspective on it. But realistically, we're all entangled and we need to be working together rather than fucking arguing and fighting. I mean, the Gorilla Chemist is a fucking great guy. He puts out a lot of information. He put out that study. And I think a lot of us were taken back because we're like, wait a minute, we keep hearing shit about how great the fucking, you know, the vegan diet is, the plant-based and all that stuff, and how you can take in less protein, et cetera, et cetera. And here we have this study that finally slams it home that that's not true. And now we open it up for debate. And, you know, then and there's a lot more information in that study, not just the fact of that you have to take in more plant-based protein. It's why. It's what happens chemically after you take in the plant-based protein as opposed to the animal protein. It was pretty interesting stuff. If you guys want to check it out, it's on the Gorilla Chemist's Instagram page. I don't know where it's going to go. I'm looking forward to seeing some debates and seeing some, I mean, I don't want to say arguments, but arguments because both sides are going to feel like they're right and both the sides are right. There is a phenomena happening where they're eating less protein on a plant-based diet, and there is a phenomena happening where they studied it and found out that you need twice the amount. Now, what happens in between there, that's the missing link that we need to connect. And that's the thing that nobody's really looking at because they're too busy arguing. Stop arguing, look in the middle, figure out what the fuck is going on, and then we'll start having some real answers. BioStrengthTraining@gmail.com. Leave comments down below, but don't fight. BioStrength.com is the blog. It's the real answers coming up soon, Bicep, and we are